Snap to grid view. Oh man. Boy. Okay. So. Let me post this elsewhere and then. Alright, I think we're good. Let me adjust the microphone here because the cable is a little too close to my arm. Okay, so. Hey there. I did not stream last week. And now we're back. And the reason for that is I had a design test that was not exactly due on Tuesday, but was it would have been a good idea for me to turn it in on that day, which I ended up being able to do. So yeah. So I wanted to focus on that over the weekend, and I was able to. And so I thank y'all for your patience in that regard. So yeah, where were we last? We were making good progress in building B, I recall. And we were actually able to futz around a little with the lighting. Yeah, lighting and decoration and all that. Yeah. We got these guys patrolling. Getting through the building felt alright. So, let me see if there's anything else we need to finish up here. Yeah. So, part of this needs to be metal and part of it needs to be wood, according to the off-screen diagrams here. So, I think we'll just finish that up and then we'll move on to the next building and the final one in this step. And then I guess that means we'll be moving on to scripting. So it'll be a whole new phase. How exciting. Alright, so. Alright, I didn't get this set up. It's amazing. I've skipped a week and I've already forgotten how I like to set up my second monitor. So I can switch between Firefox and the actual grid view really easily. So let's see, I wanted the metal to sort of meet where this sort of corner starts, which just so happens to align with this plank on the texture. Yeah, so I think if I well, no, but okay. Yeah, I think I'll just split this. All right. So, what's going on today, or what was going on this week? So that design test. Um, I'm not sure if I mentioned it last time. I think I must have, but I had gotten an email from Bungie. And so, yeah, that's where I had the design test for. Is that the right preposition? Yeah, so a couple weeks ago, I'd gotten an email from Bungie, like the prior Friday, I think. And then on Tuesday, they submitted, or they sent me a design test, and they basically said, you don't have an exact day this is due, but they typically come back in a week. People are able to bang them out in a week, basically. And so I was like, well, it looks like I have to do that. So, yeah, so that's kind of what dictated the timing on that. I can't really talk about what's in the design test because I actually signed a non-disclosure agreement regarding it. And it's basically just because they don't want people like looking up the answers or the yeah, basically they don't want people cheating on the design tests. So yeah, and I've turned that in, and it's just the waiting game again, I think, which really sucks. It's just agonizing in the meantime. All right, so that looks good. What now? There's a lot of this along the edge that I think probably does not need to be world spawn. I think the stairs are all, yeah, they are. Oh, but if it's part of the ceiling here, then yeah, that'd probably be worthwhile to keep. World spawny. So this is interesting. This is like poking in for the ceiling there. So I think instead I'm going to have this one stretch out. No? Okay, there we go. Now this one. Except that Z fighting something, of course. Is it actually? Yeah, it's visible. Of course, I couldn't make this simple on myself. Actually, does this need to be there? No, I think it's good. Is it poking out there? A little. What am I gonna do about that? There's a couple things we could like stretch this out just a tad more to cover that up. Yeah. Yeah, why not? And speaking of, I think that this is, yeah, this can all just be static. And oh, actually, I want to undo that because we probably need a little intermediary step around here. Or rather, I mean, for a platform that's raised like this, I'm not sure that I'm not sure that there'd be like a step wrapping around this whole thing, right? Because there might be like designated like little steps here or there to sort of guide people's entry and exit, I would think. Yeah, but I don't know how that would look. Actually, no. That was the wrong way to go about making that. Because if you remember, I've been keeping to this 8 by 12 proportion. So 12 inches or 12 units wide and 8 units high per step. So just stretching that out like 16 units is definitely not going to get me what I want. So it's also nice and cool today, which is very much appreciated. Unfortunately, it reminds me that the onset of fall is nearly upon us. And, you know, it's a reminder that time is passing, and I still don't have a job, and it makes me feel pretty shit. However, I will say that it feels a lot better in terms of, like, say, making food, especially around the use of the oven. Or rather, just like having something like going on the stove all the time. Which is my weird way of saying, like, I've been weirdly excited to make soup recently. What's it? I've been in my copious amount of spare time now. I've been watching a lot of Bon Appetit and things like that. And there was this recipe they did that they made a video on. It was like pasta e fagioli. So it's like pasta and bean soup, and I know my mom used to make that, and so I have nice associations of like being cozy in the fall and eating some soup. So I just kind of wanted to do that. It's also interesting because one of the weird things about, well, actually, let me just say I think this is good now. I don't know if there's anything else that we need to address for the time being. Maybe some holes to punch in here so we can actually get like the drawbridge looking the way to. Actually, you know what? We should figure out the drawbridge and what we're gonna do with that. We should figure out what we're gonna do with this like underspace as well, because this is not gonna be like a solid metal thing, you know. So how wide is that drawbridge gonna be? That drawbridge is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is 64, right? So 256 units wide. Seems wide enough to me for a drawbridge. It's 4 people. 4-player widths, rather. 256. That's probably gonna be. Would it be in real? Yeah, 16 would probably be fine. And then how? I'm just gonna eyeball it here. In the top-down view, you can see the drawbridge relative to the position of the wireframe of the winches that are up above here that we've placed, and these winches are going to be the things that are going to retract and lower the drawbridge. So positioning relative to them is important. Does that make sense, though? This is the curse of being sort of a half-formed level designer. So if I hide this, like this is the big old winch. The thing is that I guess what I'm wondering is like, clearly if you look at this and you saw this in real life, it would be a very heavy machine, and I think that would be pretty self-evident. But we've got it basically up on the second floor on this like flimsy piece of wood. So I don't know if it makes sense to actually just like leave it down here. Yeah, like leave both of them down there and kind of show it as like sort of the actual hinges or associated with the hinges that are keeping it attached to this. Running on games. Oh, hey, Mish, how you doing? Yeah, so fuck, I stopped the soup patter. Hey Rosso, and Fyodor. Nice. So, yeah. How likely would that be? Let me review something. Um, so, as key to building the office, winches. I know there was some sort of key or something that I wanted the player to obtain in order to get access to the winches. It would be perfectly in Thief style to have like an unrelated lock somewhere, or well, it would be related, but fucking, you know what I mean. A lock somewhere that is spatially uh, differentiated from the winches themselves. Okay, now I'm second guessing my second guess. Okay, let me walk you through my thought process, because otherwise it's just gonna be me mostly talking to myself and sounding insane. So basically, what we want out of this is this drawbridge is gonna raise and lower, um, much like this, in an arc going this direction, and basically as part of that, once you see it, it is not necessarily going to be obvious where you need to go to operate it. Well, maybe that's not the right way to phrase it, but basically, in order to assist with that, and this is a pretty easy trick. If I recall, I kind of talked about this a little bit in the alien isolation video, in that there are they just use like wires all the time to basically show like, hey, this like machine is plugged into that thing, so this machine doesn't work, follow the wire and go to the next thing to reactivate this machine. And so anything that just like looks like a line is going to like, I mean, I think it's a basic thing of like graphic design, and it's like the one thing about graphic design I know, because otherwise I'm like really shitty at it. But what's it? Lines are basically places that the viewer's eye likes to run across. So like this intersection here way in the distance between the wall and the skybox, like that just makes you want to like have your eye like run up and down it. It would also be better if I didn't have this fucking drawbridge in the middle of the view, but so basically, to assist with that and to call attention to another place, I wanted to have a couple of chains that were mounted onto here, and those chains would like draw up towards the second floor, and then from there it would be obvious. Well, not only does that make sense in terms of if you're physically going to suspend this thing, there's going to be a thing that that is holding it up and raising it up, and it'll be probably higher, or it would possibly go here and come down there, and then there'd be like a hinge. That would make sense, but also as a result of the chain being mounted and running through there, the player would like look at the chain and look up there and basically be like, oh, where does that lead to? And then hopefully that would be sufficient in order to pull the player up to here to do some sort of activation up here. But now, if I thought like these machines were going to act sort of as the winches through which this thing is raised and lowered. Wait, what just happened? What has happened to my bridge? Shift H. Oh, whoops. I hit it from view accidentally. But now these are, if I'm thinking about bringing those down here, and the chains are just up there. Oh, maybe I just say that there's like some sort of like secondary lock or safety mechanism that prevents the chains from moving up there. Then you gotta get a key to unlock it. Because basically what I'm saying is that you know, if the winches are down there, if the winches are down here and we just have the player walk up to this, then there's no real reason for this space to exist up there. You know, it doesn't serve a purpose. And if that's the case, it might just be worth deleting it. But if we find a reason to, let's say, have a secondary lock up here, or have that be the lock that the player needs to undo in order to allow this to become mobile, then that might be okay. I don't know. I also feel like it's, even if we do put a lock up here, it's kind of a flimsy premise of why we just have this space. I don't know. The more I think about the shapes I have here, the more I'm just like, none of this makes sense, you know? I'm hitting serious doubts here about a thing that I am building in a fairly public way. Oh boy. Great. I don't know what I'm fucking doing. So anyways, soup. Yeah, so yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna have this thing be like, yeah, I think I'm gonna delete that, have that be the console through which the player raises and lowers this bridge. And then we'll have some chains kind of going up there, but then the winches might be, say, ceiling mounted or something. Yeah, I don't know. Everything in my gut, I don't know. Because I like having this, you know, secondary, I really like having this secondary, or second floor, path that's circulating around a lot of the space, because that's very thiefy, I think. But like, I can't really keep justifying why it's there. You know, yeah, I think maybe if I, because let's be frank, this is also way too large for an office. So it's like, what the fuck am I gonna put in here? Like, this is just massive. Yeah, so I think if I cut this out and then I put like another flight of stairs basically here that could like wrap up to this side of the room, that might be okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. But then what am I gonna do with the guard? Well, he could like patrol around here as well, I think. Okay. Yeah, I'm liking this more and more. Um, hmm. Workout set. Sure. Um. So soup making. Yeah. The one thing that really motivated me more than anything, weirdly, to look at making soup and copying that Bon Appetit recipe is that weirdly enough, for the recipe, they say like, you know, if you have like a rind of a chunk of Parmesan that you have lying around, you can like drop that into the soup and just have it like kind of boil in there while the broth is cooking, and then you know you can extract a lot of flavor out of that. And I was like, you can use Parmesan rinds for that, and so I have had a chunk of Parmesan that I've been working through for like the past few months and couple months. I'm not that gross. But yeah. Yeah, so I guess we're going through with this. Alright. So yeah, I'll just use some soup. Or I use the Parmesan rind in the soup. And that'll be an interesting experience. Plus, again, the weather is kind of changing to be kind of perfect for that. And I'm really happy about that. I mean, I really do like summer, but like, I don't know, having the AC going all the time is gets a little monotonous, you know. Um, oh, you know what? What if I had like a raised ceiling here in the middle to make it look more warehousey with like cross beams and things? Because there was that second mission in Thief 2 that was all it was shipping and receiving, I think was the title. And yeah, basically that was the whole setup. It's just like a shipping district or a warehouse district along the like next to a seaport, and basically you would just like pop in and break into various sort of warehouses and storefronts that were there, and they definitely had a lot of the vaulted ceilings and well, not vaulted necessarily, but like really high up ceilings with like cross beams, and that would sort of form like a third level path basically. And I would definitely like to emulate that. So what does this mean, that this is just going to be like flat here and it's just going to be kind of boring? Nah. Okay, I think we'll be fine. Um, well, maybe I don't have to get rid of all this up here. Maybe. Then again, what purpose would it serve? I'm really self-agonizing today, huh? Oh yeah. And just let me go insane on a live stream. That sounds good. What else was I going to bring up? Literally did that trick half an hour ago for tomato soup. Oh, nice. That does sound good. Yeah. Let me tell you, this is going to really simplify the viz tree. I'll worry about the path nodes in a bit after I take care of this geo. Now we just need some of the floor there, I guess. Sure. And instead of having this out here as a facade, we can... Will that be the right term? You know, for a guy trying to be a level designer, I know astonishingly little about architecture. Yeah. Okay. This feels a little better. Okay, perfect. You can just stretch these up. Yeah, so I don't know, man. I feel like I'd live a pretty boring life, especially now that I it's just basically me and my own thoughts for most of the time. Okay, that's good. No, how would I? Okay. I try and get out. With some people that I've met, over the mostly over the past few months. But I always just feel like it's, I guess, insufficient. What are we doing here? My God. Hmm. Yeah. I've also been trying to think of what I would do if I did get the job offer from Bungie, because they're out in Seattle and I'm in Boston, and traveling out there would just be like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I would really enjoy having like a cross country road trip, but that ain't cheap. So, I'm basically in a position where like my unemployment money hasn't come through, and I'm like borrowing money from my parents that I intend on paying back later. Um, and basically, if they asked me to move, I just would not have the funds to do so right now, and so that would probably involve borrowing more money from mom and dad and paying that back. And you know I mean, first off, it's just kind of like, I guess, embarrassing in a way. Like, I know it really shouldn't be, but it kind of is. um and also thinking about, like, you know um the contract at Bungie that I would be getting, they said, if I get the position, it would last a year. Um, and there's always the possibility of, say, being incorporated as a full-time employee um, later on, or having your contract extended or renewed or something like that. But um, I don't know. Knowing the way these things go, like, that's typically not something you can really count on. And so I'm just sort of thinking of, like, well, I thought, coming to Boston, I'd be in a better position to get a game dev job. Um, you know, if I were ever to have to leave Other Side, and then, they laid me off. And so it just makes me think, like, if I go out to Seattle for this Bungie position, and then, after a year, they don't renew my contract, and then I can't get a job in Seattle, I'm like, well, then what do I do? You know? And then, that might involve moving to, say, like Portland, Oregon, or Vancouver, or, you know, San Francisco or LA. And what in the world just fell? Oh, I think it was a pen on my desk. And, just, the idea of having to, right after something else, just finance my own move again, or, finance, or, asking my parents, or lending money from my parents to, move for another job again, and then having to pay it off again. And I just honestly see this like weird cycle in front of me in terms of, what I would need to do in order to keep doing this. And I don't know, does not fill me with a lot of confidence. It, you know, and, I know that certainly people in other fields are probably feeling this way as well, but like the constant need to like move for a job or shift somewhere else, it's just like awful. Because I actually really like Boston. I would love to keep living here, but I'm not getting any calls back from any places here. So I don't know. Fuck am I supposed to do? That makes you afraid to like really get close to people in person, because it's just like, well, I'm gonna move in a year, why bother? you know I'm not happy with the state of things, I guess you could say. Yeah, and I don't mean to be a big sad sack about it. I'm just like, well, this is just kind of the material conditions I'm facing. And so, yeah, I've been thinking about other ways of doing things. Working like a lot of independent developers. I mean, obviously they make their own games and they do stuff, but I know like quite a few who kind of go out and do contract work. And I can definitely see the appeal of that. Okay, what are we gonna do here? Yeah, and you know, once you're an independent developer or you're on contract, you know, you can basically just do remote work, so you can just be pretty much anywhere. But to start doing that, I don't know how you would. God damn, this is a mess. What am I gonna fucking do? Jeez. Okay. Someone was listening to some pretty nice jazz outside, I guess. Okay, you know what? If I have like a separate thing out here as sort of like a shed or a cover for like the landing of these stairs, and then I just kind of bring them down this way. Yeah, that might work. But then again, how's it going to affect this? Alright, so if I build them out. Well, first, I do think I need to shrink this office a little bit. Revert to world spawn. Something like that, I think would be better. Okay, I think we're finding what we want to do here. I don't know why I say we, but you know. If you strongly disagree with this, let me know. think then stretch that down there. Yeah. Stretch that down there, make a copy here. Is that flush? Yes. And then here we are. Okay. And then that here. Oh, whoops. No, I want to change the grid size. Not undo that. Oh yeah, is it worth bringing up here? No, just for curiosity's sake, and I'm not like upset about this or anything. I'm not mad about this, but someone apparently tuned in to one of the past streams I had, or they watched the recording or something. And regarding other side, they posted on there's this forum called Through the Looking Glass. That is, one of the, it's a fan forum for Looking Glass games and immersive sims, basically, that has actually been around since the original Looking Glass was still open, which is pretty impressive. But anyways, there were some people, or there was one person who tuned into one of these streams, and they made a post about me talking about not being at Other Side anymore. And again, it's not like upsetting or anything, but it was just weird. Not that how do I phrase this? I don't know. I feel like, especially with this channel, I really stake my claim on trying to be, the immersive sim guy, or the guy who's really into, Looking Glass and all that. Or at least I started out that way, and I wanted to branch out, and then I just haven't put out enough videos to really do that. But I now find it strange and interesting that, if Other Side manages to kind of survive what they're going through right now, and, put out more games, then, it's going to feel really weird seeing those out there. And so it's kind of interesting to have that digital track record on a forum of basically being like, we know, Other Side went through layoffs and stuff because this one goober on YouTube talked about it publicly. Yeah, especially, it's really hard to go back and look at my older videos, like the System Shock 2 and the Thief videos, not just because certainly they are less skillfully made, than my more recent stuff, which is not to say that my more recent stuff is like masterful or anything, but also they kind of really hype up. Well, yeah, they hype up Other Side. I was just like, man, these guys are gonna come back and they're gonna do stuff, and the genre is gonna return. And then I was involved with Underworld Ascendant, and yeah. Hmm. Yeah. And so it is interesting to, there are, when you're trying to get hired in the industry, they talk about, doing, being familiar with the games of the place that you're applying to. And showing that you're knowledgeable about their output, but also not being a fanboy, basically. Because, a fanboy would just be like, uncritical and, overly like sycophantic, and I think that the System Shock 2 and Thief videos maybe got a little too close to that for my comfort, especially in retrospect, knowing that, like, no, these people absolutely had the capability of, messing up a game. um, Ooh, this is gonna be weird, huh? Maybe if I lengthen this. And so yeah, it just kind of, I guess, the forum post just kind of cements for me this sort of tragic structure. Not to say that this is like the worst thing that could ever happen to a person. Clearly not. But it kind of outlines this rise and fall of just like Jared was really convinced that this company would knock it out of the park, and he ended up getting burnt for it. And I guess that's just kind of part of, if people were to look back at my, I guess, internet presence or whatever, however many years in the future, that's just gonna, I guess, be part of the story. I hope I'm making sense. Is this okay? And again, I'm not like necessarily bothered by the person who posted it. I'm just more, you know, it's more of a reflection of, I think, what I feel is like my naivete over the past couple of years. No, that is... Okay. I don't know. Viz portal. And no, that is not the right face. Thanks, Russ. Yeah. Alright, layouts won't help me. Layouts won't help me when I'm bushwhacking into a new frontier. Maps won't work here. For those of you who listen to Aesop Rock, that was a nice little reference. So, also, I guess just seeing my stuff posted there is weird because it's sort of an extension of what's the word? Like that is a site that is very much devoted to the legacy of Looking Glass, and I think it is kind of weird that in some tangential way, I guess I am now a part of that, but for not flattering reasons. You know, it's whatever. As I was joking with some friends, I think, like, because of that, I'm now probably most famous for having been laid off than for, you know, anything I've actually done. I think that's an exaggeration, but, you know, I'm trying to be funny here. I'm trying, damn it. Maybe something less depressing. I got motivated all of a sudden to work on videos again. My big hang up has just been like feeling like, you know, working on videos right now is something that's like not directly applicable to my getting reemployed. And basically I think I have this I just get this weird sense of like, you know, well, if it's not directly applicable to you know, getting a new job, then like why are you doing it? Like you shouldn't be like spending your effort on something that won't get you hired. And I guess that's true, but it's also weird because, like, again, I spend hours just watching YouTube videos and laying on my bed because I'm just like too demotivated at points. So I'm like, well, maybe that's not the reason why I feel bad about it, or the reason I'm not into it right now. So what does this look like now? This looks... Yeah, this is a lot more reasonable for an office space. How's that read looking? Ooh, nice. Now if I can get like directional lights to kind of simulate moonlight coming in through here, oh man, that's gonna be great. Kind of like backfill this area so you can actually better and more clearly see the exterior. So yeah, but for whatever reason I got motivated to do it again, mostly because I recently, like, people know I've been talking a lot about Pathologic on these streams, been on Twitter recently, just because it's so good. But there was some news recently that apparently was not totally accurate. But there's some news recently about the developers Ice Pick Lodge being in some financial straits, and there was also recently the Mandalore review of Pathologic 2 that kind of gave it a boost. And so, I really enjoyed the game, and basically I feel like I would want to cover it at some point, just because I really like it, and just so I can get the word out about it. But yeah, I don't know. Like, in the context of covering it for like level design, I'm not sure how I would do that. You know, because it's like a very different context compared to games I've covered in the past, where they're mostly like a linear series of very set areas and set levels. Yep, this is going to be right in front of the drawbridge, and that's not great. Whereas, Pathologic 2 takes place in, the same town, and the town basically changes over time. And so the layouts are the same, but the context in which you move through them is different. And so I'm not sure if I could like necessarily dissect what like all of what is going on there. Yeah, jeez, this isn't gonna. Okay, so basically what I'm looking at right now is the fiction of this place basically is that ships come through here, they stop here, drawbridge lowers, and the people in this building are in charge of inspecting cargo, just to make sure there's no like smuggling or things going on. And so when a ship stops here, fictionally, it gets its cargo out. It gets moved across the drawbridge onto here. They kind of move it around in a circle around this thing to inspect each of these, and then they kind of shove it back out and then back onto the ship. What would not help in this situation is a giant metal staircase. Maybe we could do something weird, like a metal walkway that stretches most of the way and then the stairs come down, like over here. Will that make sense? Then because of that, we might have a justification for, like, you know, winches being mounted onto this walkway. So something like this, I guess. Wait, oh, whoops, that's on the opposite end. Actually, I don't know. What if these, like, came out here but, like, doubled back? That might be alright. God damn, I'm just not sure any of this makes sense. Oh dear. Something like that. But that just kind of leaves this over here. This is not terribly interesting, I gotta say. Maybe I should just abandon the idea of this second staircase. Yeah. I don't know. I think we still did some quality stuff. We reduced the size of that office. I think that's definitely a strength. Drama. What kind of cargo are they inspecting fictionally? Oh, sorry, Dennis. That must have been a while ago. I don't know. It could be any cargo. It's definitely weird even for me as an onlooker. I'm on some of those forums, and it's strange to see your experiences as a data point in a narrative. Yeah, I guess so. And I will stretch this down. Oh yeah, so if Dennis is in the chat still, oh dear. I know that for a lark he was organizing a bunch of people to go to a little event that is coming up this next weekend. In Madison, Wisconsin. Now, obviously, I do not have the funds to go there, but said event is a little festivity called Shrekfest. So, yeah. So, if you're still in the chat, good luck to you. Oh yes, we need the story of. We need the story to be bulletproof if you want us to fully immersed. Say it's Tupperware. Nice. No, it's actually Mary Kay Cosmetics. Or what's that other one? The Vector knives. Oh dear. Glad I caught that. Farces? Farce? You trying to do a French thing here? Yeah, okay. This is... Yeah. Okay. I think we can make this work. Actually, I want to move the desk lamp over here so we can get it on that back wall. Or get some light to bounce off that back wall, rather. You know what I mean. Know what I mean? And because of that... Oh, yeah, look at that. So now from this angle, when the player's entering, there's a lot more of this that's lit. So I think the last thing I want to do in here is, well, I gotta figure out some sort of way to basically revise this guard's patrol path. Okay, so what do we want to do? I think having him just move around in a circle through the office and then out here, and basically just that on a circuit that's a little too short, I think, and that would make it pretty difficult if the player needed to get up here for whatever reason. Yeah, I definitely think that we should have like a key to the drawbridge or something up in here. So I would definitely want the player to go up there. So on the one hand, I think that having him just walk in this small circle is too tight. On the other hand, I think that having him, like, once you get guards that basically come downstairs, that makes it like way harder because, you know, from particular angles, like here, if the player were sitting here and waiting for, you know, the guard to do their thing basically, and you know, he is coming down, you know, the stairs here, there's this chunk of geo that's sort of serving as a blind corner for him. So as soon as he turns the corner, the player sees him, and you know, they have way less time to react because of that. So I think what I would want instead, well, So basically, I am definitely thinking about like territory that the guards would have at any given point. But last time we were playing, I think like moving through this warehouse was a little too easy, so I might risk it. My other concern is also that I kind of want this to be a safe area, to be a transition between the two buildings here. And so anything that I can do to avoid having this guard when they're like patrolling back up the stairs to be able to see in here would be anything I can prevent. Anything I can do to prevent him looking there would be good. So I think instead, what I would do is I would want him to patrol down here into this room, do a double back basically, and then move on up again. So at least when he's coming from this angle, you can't really see all that far into this hallway. And I think that'll be at least... I think that'll be okay. So I'm going to move this over. Well, actually, I probably want to move that here so he doesn't walk into the wall. Move this guy here. And this is going to get a little tangled. So bear with me. Put that there. Move this. Ah, well. And that would be it, I guess. So let's instead this guy over here. And this guy over here. This guy up here. And I think basically that'll be all right. Now I just need to get these guys pointing in the right direction. Entity, target. Yep. Target 16. I'll have this target 17. And that's okay. I would probably want him to wait a little bit in here. So. Okay. So let's add one of these guys. And I think that target will be 14, if I'm correct. Yes. All right. This will be pathway 11. We'll have this target path weight 11. And all right, looks like the AI's there. All right, well, let me get the dark mod going, and we'll compile this map, and I will use the restroom real quick, and then we'll play through this to test. Okay. Hang on. I have to draw the blind so I can actually see what's on screen. Okay, so let me just no clip up to here. I just noticed it's kind of a low ceiling. And oh, look at that. Doesn't that look cozy? Alright, so I'm just observing here for now. And he goes around the corner, and I think there's a path weight at the top of the stairs. Is that fair? Maybe I should make the weight on the landing so the player can at least see. Wait, what's he doing? He's just standing there. Oh, is there no monster clip on that? Oh, jeez. Yeah, sure as shit. My oversight. Yeah, that's pretty much fine. So there's that, and then from down here. Oh wow, new stuff. I mean, sure. Thank you, Adendente. Sorry, I'm trying to recall if you're someone. I mean, clearly you are someone. Just someone I know in real life. If I wanted to simplify this further, and I might do this in the future, it really doesn't make sense that this walkway would kind of move and snake around here if there's nothing else going on around here. So basically I would like rotate the stairs 180 degrees and like stick them up against the wall. And I think I'll probably do that at a later date. Yeah, well that fixed. Oh yeah, and I don't think I like the pathway at the top of the stairs here. So I'm going to it's number 18. And now everything's out of order, but you know, we'll make do. And that's number 10. And we'll move this down here. It's pathway 9. And I think the target would then be 11. Yeah. Okay, so because of that, the guard should freeze on the landing here. Sounds good to me. And once again, we're going to clip. Oh dear. I was scared because like my feet get stuck in the geo. There we are. Anyways. Man, you can clearly see his silhouette going through there. I just love it. Oh, and look, you can see him walking across there. There you go. I stopped on landing and yes. Okay, so walking down. Through the door. Yep. Just gotta wait a little on the other side.
What was that?
Oh, whoops. Now he's back through. Yeah. Okay, looks like the path is working. So. Is he gonna start moving again? Yes. Okay.
piss on your corpse when we're done here.
Jeez.
Come here and fight me.
Ow. Okay. Clearly it's a little tougher. Let's restart. Granted, I was just being a little impulsive there, trying to get past him. Okay. Alright, we're in the heat of it. I forget which way he's gonna... Yeah, he's gonna come this way. Okay.
I drink horse piss before I drink that again.
Oh no. I was wrong.
This ends
Oh, come on.
now.
That does not feel fair to me.
How's that feel, you cockwit?
I don't know. Does that feel fair, or... I mean, I guess I was right next to him, right? I mean, I guess either way I can see that it is definitely possible for you to get past there. And the question of fairness should be something that will be determined when we do our first external playtest. Yeah. So I guess I'm not too worried about that. Oh my lord. Alright. Actually, yeah, I think I'll just do the staircase now. Or this one. But of course, this changes a lot in terms of the space. So, do I want to do that now? I don't know. I guess it is clear to me that, you know, I don't want to keep it this way. I just need to figure out what else to do with this space, basically. Maybe just like another chunk of crates here. Chunk of crates, but like where that is, and then we shove this over to the corner, and that'd be okay. Yeah, let's try it. Well, not that one, but. Oh, whoops. All right. Textures. This. Is that the right one? I think so. Oh, I think it's just at a different scale. That's why. Silver one and that should be all right. Merge that. Well, actually, I'll. Whoa, looks trippy. Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna revert to world spawn here. Reselect this stair, and then convert to func static. So now the whole thing. Actually, oh, that's a differential of 16. God damn it. Well, first off, I'm going to hide this. World spawn, select those, make that a func static, unhide the monster clip, and all right. Now I gotta move this here. Get a stack of crates selected. And there's one missing here that I didn't select, but I'm fine with that. And I think that'll be okay. You know, actually, I don't think this feels like risky enough over here, so I'm gonna reduce this. Then I will surround with monster clip. Rotate repeat that. And that looks good. So, yeah, that's about right. Well, maybe I try to move this over so I get like two clearer, like you know, a stream moving around a rock or something. Well, actually, I'm gonna hide that. Just H unhide. A little closer to here. And yeah, I think so. Yeah, that feels pretty good. All right. So I think that's fine for this space. You know, I titled this session Building C work, and I've done no work in Building C. So yeah, I guess I'll just have to revise that later. So yeah, I think that's all I want to do in here because I wanted to devote some time to at least switch things up a little. This is completely unrelated to what I had planned on doing initially, but I just wanted to show people because I am finally at a point where I have a little something to show. Nothing too advanced. I've just been kind of tinkering away at a Unity project on the side. And as I've mentioned, there are a few projects that I would like to. I mean, there are a few like avenues that I feel like could get me to a place where I could, be in a place where I could just like sustainably like work on game development stuff. And I feel like I don't know, like any 4 or 5 of these avenues could lead to me just doing that full time, but like none of them are far enough along really. So this makes me feel you know, I basically feel really distracted all the time. But I've just been playing around with something here because I had this idea, especially inspired by Pathologic. So I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. I had an idea possibly of developing a demo of some sort into a place where I could basically put it up for a Kickstarter campaign. Clearly this is nowhere near where it needs to be. But you know, I think it's the seed of an idea. And so basically I was inspired by Pathologic 2 to see if I could start making, and I had also been playing Silent Hill 1 and 2 recently, especially pretty close after the layoff. I've been playing those, and I just gotten this idea into my head of like, what if we kind of had that time elapsing thing with Pathologic, as well as the need to get a certain number of resources in that time to stay alive, but we combine that with like Silent Hill gameplay. And I don't know why I fixated on that, but basically it ended up with me feeling like we could make a game about... Why did I say we? I don't know. Makes me feel like, we could make a game about, someone in their apartment who, sees their like money dwindle week after week, and they need to sort of wrangle with the forces of certain state agencies in order to get money while they apply for jobs and things like that. Totally not autobiographical or anything. No, I think that's pretty transparent. This is initially I want to call it like Layoff, because that's basically just what it was. And I guess I wanted to get into this weird idea of like economic horror, of just like the idea that like running out of money, or the sitting and waiting and just seeing like your bank account dwindle, and knowing like I would love to not have that happen, but there's nothing I can do right now to try and get that sense and put it into a game, which is all very like high level and long term stuff, but oh great. Oh, good. I thought that was a car alarm going off. So yeah, in the meantime, just because I want to emulate something, playing like Silent Hill, I wanted to mess around with making a third-person controller. And I actually learned quite a bit by doing this. So... if I just move the mouse around, I've got the camera moving relative to the player, which is pretty nice. So if I move using WASD, if I move forward or backward, the player actually like slowly rotates to face the direction that they'll eventually be moving towards, which is a nice little thing I added. And then the thing is, if you rotate, now if I hit left or right, it'll be relative to the camera rotation. And I know that sounds basic, but like this was all like this was a bit complicated to figure out, believe it or not. So yeah, basically I can just walk around with this guy, and that's about it. But the thing is that I had basically competing visions in my head of what I wanted this game to be. And what I mean by that is I had this idea of like you would be in your apartment and you would spend time, or like units of time, doing mundane tasks like requesting unemployment benefits, or filing for unemployment, or sending out a job app, or cooking food for yourself. And then I pictured that being in an apartment, and because it's a very enclosed space, I would picture it being like first person, but I wanted Silent Hill style gameplay, and it's that's primarily third person. And I haven't played Silent Hill 4, which is The Room. But I've seen footage of it, and I know that in the apartment in that game, you are in first person, but when you go out into the more surreal environments, it switches to third person. And so I thought that actually that might be an interesting template to build off of, and sort of using this implicit rule of, like, if you go into an interior space, it switches to first person, and then you switch to third person when you go, like, back outside. So I have a door here, and the door itself is not animated, so we're going to clip through this thing. But if I hit E on this thing, and now we're in first person on the other side of the door. And again, we're moving relative to the camera rotation. Now if I hit E on the door again, we're going to... And the camera clips through here. I need to figure out a way for it to, like, not clip into and collide with things. But yeah. And truthfully, I want it to be specific to the door, but just for testing's sake, I have this mapped to... Oh, whoops. Okay, well, I found a bug. That is interesting. So it's starting on the other side of the door. Well, clearly I have to fix that, but, you know, other than that, you know, that's basically what I have. That was not terribly long, huh? And thus shift focus onto the environment. Yeah, that's true. The particular distance of the camera here, you know, it's not a set thing. Here's my giant ass inspector thing for all the player movement settings and all the player camera settings. Yeah, I'm not sure what distance would be best for this, but I do feel like it needs to be at least a little closer. To be honest, if you're playing like the original Silent Hill or Silent Hill 2, like the camera is still pretty far out, at least while you're walking the streets of the town. But I get what you're saying. I think it'll be like the thing will be like framing. Yeah. All right. Well, that was a fun little detour, I guess. I'm gonna end a bit early here, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Thanks to all who tuned in, and I will see you next week. And I'll put this up on the playlist, and as always, you can go to my channel, look under playlists. Like all these streams will be there. They're unlisted, but you can access the playlist on my channel page. So see you guys.